Nightwing, issue 101, Tom Taylor writing with Travis Moore on the art. So, obviously, we had the Titans become involved last issue, and we're building, of course, to a Titans book, but they're still here for this arc and Nightwing, and it picks up the thread from issue 98 with with Blockbuster's daughter, who the demon was coming after. And the start of this issue deals with Neron coming and sort of like, but the demons are like, oh, maybe we can go get her, and like maybe fight the Titans. And Neron's like, you going to take on the daughter of Trigon? No. I don't want to piss him off. Let's not. Let's not do that. Let's not do
Neron.
that. So instead, he goes to was it the king of Latva,
Vlatava.
There you go.
Yep.
And forms a plan with him. We don't really get to quite see what the plan is. We just know that he's offering a plan, and we see how it maybe comes out to play a little bit later. But we see Blockbuster's daughter playing with the Titans. She's playing make-believe with Raven and Beast Boy, who's a unicorn. And they're just having fun until Nightwing and Bitewing show up. I do love the little joke here that when Beast Boy hears about the dog talking, he gets really kind of insecure, and Nightwing's like, don't worry, you're the first talking dog that we all cared about. Don't worry. That was kind of good fun. But yeah, so they're basically talking about protecting her, and there's like a protective bubble around this house in the woods. The only people that Raven's designated are allowed to come in can actually come in without setting off a bunch of arcana alarms and whatever else.
Her wards, as she says. And yeah, man, it's just good to have the Titans together in a story, and it doesn't feel like this doesn't feel like the prelude to the Titans book. It feels like a nice, not a dip even. It feels like a nice jaunt into Nightwing, right? Because it still feels very much like, what Taylor's been doing with Dick's relationship with all these characters. And I was quite pleased to see the, Blockbuster's daughter come back around.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if we were getting more of her, but it was just kind of nice that they're still protecting her, and that's still kind of like part of it. The book then goes into the sort of the mystery element of it, which is that they're still dealing with the rubble of the old Titans Tower, which comes into it. They mention obviously Dark Crisis and the Deathstroke fight, and there's someone buried beneath the rubble, and this concerns all of them greatly. Starfire lifts up the tons and tons of rubble to get to who it is. So
cool.
Such a nerd.
I am. I love Corey. She's great. Like, so she goes up, right? And she was the principal of the school. She was the headmistress. And you just feel that from her, that she's upset that all this happened. But she goes up and like supercharges and then dives while superheated underneath to lift up all this rubble. And it's just, it's really cool that she gets a spotlight like that. So thank you, Tom Taylor.
Okay, you done fawning?
I am.
All right.
Until the next issue of Poison Ivy. So we're good.
Oh yeah, sure. But they find what looks like the dead corpse of the King of Lava, and it's like, wait, what? What's going on here?
Why is he here?
Yeah. So it's like, okay, whatever plan they've concocted, it's led to this, but we're not really sure like what's going on. Amanda Waller shows up and is pissed and is like, wait, you've got some important political figure here. We can't just ignore this, and she's barking orders at people.
They're all trying to figure out why he would be there. Was like he one of the supervillains that was at the fight? Like, no one knows. Which I also think adds to the mystery.
Yeah. And then the coroner even like has this weird moment. She's got a big grin across her face, and he's like, "Why are you smiling?" And she's like, "I just love a good mystery. Like I don't understand why he's there."
Yeah.
So basically, though, she ends up hitting Nightwing in the back of the head, and then morphs her face, and then turns into Nightwing. So she's a shapeshifter, and she's like, "I did meet him once, though," and then walks out. So the cliffhanger at the end of the issue is Nightwing's been knocked out with a lab object, like I think it was a microscope or something like that, and this fake Nightwing walks out with a big grin on his face as they're going back to Blockbuster's daughter. So this was all a plan to infiltrate and get to Blockbuster's daughter. My question is, though, is the king really dead? Because it didn't sound like he was agreeing to be murdered. And so was he
No,
betrayed?
I think he's the grinning man.
You think he's the shapeshifter?
Yeah, I think he's the shapeshifter. So he shapeshifted when he got to the coroner. That's why she was grinning and saying that she loved the mystery.
Yeah.
And because that was him. So I looked up King of Latava, and I was like, that's very familiar. Why do I know that country? That is where Count Vertigo is from. So it's a small country. And then when you look at what Neron talks about, where whoever the king of Latava is, made a deal with Neron to become the king over there again. So that's why this is Neron calling in his favor. Yeah, I did this for you.
There's that nice little beat in the conversation where Neron's like, I need a favor, and he's like, oh, well, this means you still own my soul. He's like, yeah, I'll still own your soul, but I'll give you more time to enjoy all these things before I take it. And he's like, okay, I'm listening. So I was like, okay, we're getting a little bit of that relationship there. It's an interesting issue because it's very different to what the book's been, and kind of a fun way. So the fact that we're doing this story with the rest of the Titans, and maybe part of it's going to be them realizing that this isn't really Dick, is going to play into the idea of, oh, this is his friend, so they would maybe recognize at some point.
I think they're going to recognize it real quick.
Well, if he doesn't stop grinning, even when they start talking about something awful, maybe they'll get clued in.
Yeah, I mean, because that's kind of been Taylor's take on the Titans, is they are that close. They know each other in and out. So, but there's a really fun little story after the build up to 100, and seeing what Dick's gonna do to change Bloodhaven. So to take this little almost side trip with the Titans back to Blockbuster's daughter. It's a lot of fun. Also, Travis Moore's art's pretty solid. All the characters look really good. His grinning man is creepy, especially when he's disguised as Dick. But yeah, pretty solid issue.
Yeah, I think it did a really good job of setting up or teasing that what was going on with Neron and the grinning man early on, and then so it makes sense that the characters are all concerned when there's a body and they're like, shit, did we miss a kid? Did a kid die that we didn't account for? And they're kind of really scared and nervous about it.
Yeah.
So I like the emotions from them in that scene and the build up to actually finding the body, and then the actual weirdness of what the body was, I think was a cool little thing. But because they set up this was Neron and this other guy doing this early on, I actually it had a good payoffs where it had a the bookend, the beginning and an end that felt like it told a full chapter of a story. So when it got to that ending and the reveal, it was like, oh, this was all part of the plan. This is all so it was a good cliffhanger. I'm excited to see what they do with this next. So, and like you said, Travis Moore's art is pretty solid. Obviously, Redondo's the best artist on the book, but he can't be on every issue. So, Moore's definitely one of my favorite alternates for the book.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Good. And of course, we have a backup now as an ongoing thing in Nightwing.
Which I forgot about. I got to the end and there was still more book, and I was like, oh yeah, maybe this is that C.S. Picot story.
Yeah, which started in issue 100. So, yeah. So this is him training John. This is him training John, and them going to another circus where something very similar to what happened to Dick is happening, where this kid almost falls to his death, but Nightwing comes in and grabs him, and he's like, no, I'm never letting this happen again. And he's like, this wasn't an accident, this rope's being cut. So it's kind of setting up a very personal style story. And there's even a bomb in the audience. John scans the audience, and there's a teddy bear with a bomb in it. So and that's basically the whole story. But it's all just about, okay, someone's trying to kill someone at this circus, or just do this terrorist act, and Dick and John are going to investigate it.
Well, and I like the subtext of Dick explaining to John about being an aerialist it isn't just all the flippy tricks and stuff. It's the trust that you have that someone's going to catch you, and the fact that Dick's trust could have been broken because his parents, and it's just his parents, right? Yeah, it's just him and his parents. The brother's a movie adaptation. I have sickness fog right now. It's a big deal that his sister's the mayor. So anyways, that he didn't have his parents to count on anymore, and then Bruce came in, and had that trust that they have that trust together, and he wants that with John, and just so there's like this nice protective, older sibling thing with Dick and John that I really like, and it's apparent, and there's very few. This is like what, 5 pages, 4 pages.
I mean, it's a little bit longer than that, but the fact that you think
longer.
It was that short tells you how quickly you read it.
Yeah. So, and it's all very apparent through those quick. So, but yeah, really, really, really liked it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's a good cliffhanger, so I'm intrigued what they do with more of the story, and because it is continuing this fun short story from issue 100, which was the idea that this is like Dick training John. Getting a little slice of that every issue is probably going to feel quite good. I think Pansika's art in this backup is pretty solid. It's not quite as good as Moore, but I think it's a really solid art for a backup. Sometimes I think what backups suffer from is you get to them and like the artist is like, someone you don't like as much as the main story, so you feel this drop that is, makes it less appealing to read. But honestly, it still feels very much in style of what Nightwing's been. I think Pansika's maybe even done some issues here or there.
Yeah,
before now. So yeah, it's again, it's really hard to judge something that's only an 8-page story. And it's not a full story yet because it's only a part of one. But I'm definitely more invested in reading this backup than I am some of the other backups that we get from DC. So
for sure.
So that's good. Overall, really solid issue of Nightwing. Honestly, if anything, it's maybe more of a low-key issue just because some of the issues are so fantastic that this just feels like a normal one, but that's not a bad thing in this case when it's a run that I'm enjoying this much. So, what are you giving Nightwing issue 101? I'm
going to give this an 8.
Yeah, I agree with the 8. I think it's a really solid issue of the run, but I wouldn't say it's like a standout issue, like some of the other big issues have been.
Yeah.